Right. And we are live. What's up, folks? Welcome to the Sidekick Show. We are talking Dredd today. We have a couple special guests with us. So, as always, my co-host over here, Rob, is here, aka the 905. His new social media is in the link in the description if you need to follow that. I am John from Heroes World. We have Jonathan Yo joining us. You probably just saw recently on our toy Hasbro reactions, and I also brought Tim back, who was also on our Has Fan Fest thing. He's a big Dredd fan. He actually got me my copy of Dredd, so I figured it was appropriate to get him on this. So thank you everyone for joining us. What do we got? What do we got going on again, Rob? We're doing Dredd.
Well, first of all, is anybody drinking? Am I the only one? Tonight's episode brought to you. No, it's not. But it's Brock Street vodka soda. If you guys haven't had these vodka sodas in a can, Brock Street. I'm gonna listen. It's a Durham region area. I'm gonna tell you. This stuff is amazing. So you can actually deliver it to your house.
Okay.
So
and you're gonna drink it from the top. You're not gonna you're gonna crack like the bottom and.
No, I'm not gonna shotgun it. This is lemon lime, but they have like tons of different flavors.
All right, there you go.
There we go.
Lewis says he drank last night. He's done.
He's done for the year. Yeah. Reach out to Brock Street and have them make a sponsor panel.
Oh man.
Oh man! All right, cool. So let's get it rolling because we got a lot to talk about. So I have forgoed the new releases, and I'm going to talk about a couple things we can special order. So since we're talking Dredd, I'm going to talk about Dredd stuff. So there is a book. So it's going to block up you guys on the bottom row. So sorry, guys. There we can order this Dredd Urban Warfare hardcover. So this is a story set during the movie. So it features 3 action-packed stories from set in the world of the movie, including. I think it's got a whole bunch of backstory. You can see Mama or whatever her name is in the pictures and things like that. And it also features one of the stories is a team up with Judge Anderson as well. So I guess they bring her back. And
is it weird that they call it Urban Warfare, like Karl Urban?
Karl Urban, yeah. They should call it Dredd Karl Urban Warfare. That'd be great. And then I can order in the IDW series. So they did an ongoing series a while back. And they have 2 hardcovers out for it, so you see them on the wings here. And then this is just some of the artwork on the inside here. I think that's a jock cover as well. Mm-hmm. So I can order those in. It's called Judge Dredd City Limits, and it's just stories from Mega City 1. And it'll take you all the way up to, I think it was a 30-issue run. So if you get both collections, you'll have the entire run. And it's a lot of fun. So if anyone is interested in these, hit me up in my messages or my socials or whatever, and I will do these. I'll probably do any of these for a US cover. So this one here would be about $20, which is the Urban Warfare, and then these 2 City Limits oversized books, they'd be about $30. And that's all I got for that. So Rob, you want to hit him with the news?
Yeah. Hey guys, we got a fair amount of things happened. So first of all, I want to start off. You see behind me, I have some CGC slab books. Well, Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman, John, last week went on auction. It was rated as an 8.5. No, I think it was 8.0. I have it as 8.5, but 8.0 CGC. Do you have any idea what it sold for? Oh, well, you already have it on the screen. Yes. Yes, John, you thanks. 3.25 million. Dude, that's huge. And you know what? So during dinner tonight, my kid said to me, I'm fairly certain you have this book downstairs. And I said, no, I don't. And they're like, you're convinced you have it? And like, you know, my son,
you're holding out on that 3 mil, Dad.
Right. He's like, you could be buying me a
my inheritance,
PC.
Dad?
Yeah, he's like, you could buy me a PC. I don't understand. I'm like, I'm not buying you a PC with a comic book. So but $3.25 million is huge. A couple cool things happened, John. So Disney had a investors meeting last week, and apparently, I don't know if you guys heard about this, they showed off a new lightsaber. So you know when you go to the Disney parks right now, be it Disneyland or Disney World, you can actually build your own lightsaber. This is something that I was actually supposed to be doing last July, if not for the COVID pandemic. I was supposed to be there. We booked our time to build our own lightsaber. Well, supposedly at this investors conference last week, they showed off a new lightsaber that is as real as you're going to get. It's retractable. The light is retractable and zooms up. So there have been no pictures, no video were released of this. There's a whole
I really
bunch
question how
of
this works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless it's like those plastic ones that you would whip, and it just be like a series of cones. I feel like that's not
that's
really
what I'm worried about. I'm worried about it's going to be like an automatic thing, or just going to like the hilt's like this long, just going to pop up. But hey, listen, if anybody could do it, it's the Disney Imagineers. These guys are like top of the notch engineers, and they'll be able to figure it out. So that supposedly coming out later.
I got
this
it.
year
It goes up your sleeve. So like
there you go.
Walk around with your arm
you have to walk out with a straight arm,
and then it ejects out like a switchblade or something like that.
We're gonna talk some movie news right now. So, John, your favorite movie franchise, G.I. Joe. This is you have like every copy of G.I. Joe Rebellion.
That's a stretch.
VHS, you have DVD, you have Blu-ray. I think you have the Laserdisc versions. So for you, John, as you know, Snake Eyes is coming out. It was supposed to be later this year. They've actually moved it up to July 23rd, which is like the only movie in the last 2 years that has actually
forward.
moved up. Yeah, everything's been delayed. And everybody's like, oh, this is great news. But guess what, John? Guess what your Snake Eyes did? It backflipped.
What did he do?
Out. Yeah, he knocked Top Gun. He knocked out Tom Cruise. He knocked Top Gun from that July 23rd date back into November.
Nobody knocks out Tom Cruise.
And then guess what happened? Then Tom Cruise knocked himself out, and Mission Impossible 7 is now moved from November to May of 2022 for Mission Impossible 7. So,
like Tom Cruise dominoes.
That's right. Well, because and Mission Impossible 8 was supposed to be coming out in 2022. So who knows when that's coming out now, because they were filming them back to back. But Snake Eyes, I guess the better part of the story is that we got to see Snake Eyes a little bit earlier than originally anticipated. Speaking of movies, news broke this afternoon, John, about Lucy Liu. So my favorite Charlie's Angel is Lucy Liu. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. She was my number one fan of Kill Bill. I loved her. She has signed on and joined Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods. Now she's going to star as Calypso, who is a sister of Hespera, who that is being played by Helen Mirren. And she was announced a couple weeks ago to joining Shazam. Fury of the Gods. So I'm not sure. This is breaking news this afternoon. So I'm not too sure if many people have heard about this. But John, you seemed pretty excited when I sent this to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Asian representation in any movie. I don't know if our special guests and you have a favorite Lucy Liu project. Is it in fact Charlie's Angels for you, or Kill Bill?
Well, no, for me, Kill Bill. But I mean, she wasn't a huge part of Kill Bill. But I mean, she was an integral part of Kill Bill. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
I like
Tim. Do you have Charlie's Angels? Yeah, John.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Kill Bill. I always regretted that she was supposed to have a Kill Bill action figure by McFarlane, and it never came out. And it was her in like the full white kimono with the sword, and I always regretted that. For whatever odd reason, that never happened.
Head come off?
I think so. I think I remember. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. It's McFarlane, so it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, it never came out because it would have been her and all the crazy 88s. That would have been.
Oh, that would have been a cool scene. Yeah, I actually never quite liked her in
Collect all 89.
Yeah, maybe it'll come back because McFarlane's doing a lot of things now. But I actually quite liked her, and there was a show called Southland, which was a cop show, which is one of my jams, and she was introduced as kind of a new female rookie cop, and it was a really different character for her. So I actually really thought she was cool in that, and she didn't play like your typical. She actually kind of betrays her partner, so it's kind of neat. It was kind of neat to see. But yeah, anything else?
She's been in that Sherlock Holmes show like the last little while, right? Why?
She's in some new show as well, a recent show, right?
Yeah,
one of those vintage like 80s style shows or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Sherlock. So
yeah, I don't remember the name of that. It starts with an E. I can't remember what the name of the damn show is, but Elementary, that's it. Elementary, my dear Watson. That's right, because she plays Watson. And finally, today also, not only did Lucy Liu get the breaking news alert, but so did Jordan Voight Roberts. Now, that name may sound familiar. That is the director of Andre's favorite monster movie, Kong Skull Island. Andre loves that movie. Jordan Voight Roberts was named as, this is a Netflix property. So this was, I buried the lead on that one. This is Netflix. So Netflix announced that Jordan Voight Roberts will be producing and directing a live action version of Gundam. So I think that this was huge for Andre. I sent a message to the guys in our private chat and he hasn't responded. I don't know if he's in a coma with excitement. I don't know if he's drained of all bodily fluids because of the excitement. I have no idea, but I think this is going to be pretty huge news. John or Tim, Jonathan, what are you guys saying on this? For me, I have no connection to it. I'm like, okay, it sounds great, but I know a lot of people are stoked for this.
I mean, it sounds awesome. I mean, Netflix projects have been hit and miss, though, right? So I'm taking it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I mean, can you really go wrong with Gundam, which has like a great history behind it?
The technology is there. We all saw Ready Player One, and when that Gundam pops up, you're like, holy shite, right?
Yep.
So
Pacific Rim, like it all looked good, right? Like giant robots fighting across the city in space, whatever. It'll look good. It's just whether there's that storytelling aspect that
yeah.
We'll see whether that happens or not.
I've heard so many things about a Gundam live action film over the years. It's unbelievable. I mean, the fact that Netflix has got it, I think that's even the bigger news, is the fact that they're dipping their toes now into this. I think, Netflix, I think I could see it definitely getting made through Netflix. Whether it's good or not, that remains to be seen. I am cautiously optimistic, though, because I mean, again, it's Gundam. It's a very meaty property. I mean, exactly. I'm not sure how they're going to introduce it. I'm not sure if they're going with the original series, if they're thinking about one of the side pockets, animes or whatever. So it'd be interesting to see exactly how they go. Because at the end of the day, Gundam, it's a war film, right? So it really depends on how they're going to look at it and which perspective they're going to go from.
Yeah. If they're going to go actiony, or there's a lot of political things going on in Gundam. So
and there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of information there and a lot of history there too. So I would rather see them take like an extra year or two just to get it right, because otherwise you're going to piss off a lot of fans. So
yeah. Well, they have a functioning real life Gundam. Like, have you seen those pictures, Rob?
Yeah.
In Japan, they have it like opens up and does all the craziness. So they actually built it. So like we just got a transforming Optimus Prime release. So
put those two together, and then there you go.
Yeah. They just combine the two, make a real working practical effect, whatever. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Go on, Rob. Anything else?
No, that was it. I mean, it's a lot of people are pretty stoked about this, so we'll see how it turns out. Cautious optimism, it sounds like, from the panel tonight.
Yeah, well, it's got big shoes to fill, figuratively and literally, I guess. So there's a lot of history with the Gundam and stuff like that. So I think it's got a steep mountain, but they could go all different routes with it. But yeah, I guess that's it for the news. Do we want to talk a little bit about the podcast? We did a Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, so for those
we do every week.
For those who haven't tuned in, or for those who may not remember, the main podcast came out with Stu, Andre, John, and myself. We did a recap and a rundown of Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 4. As well, we talked about John and I discussed Superman and Lois. Where are you after 5 episodes? Are you in? Are you out? We also discussed this new, as John had alluded to earlier, this new Optimus Prime figure, just automatic transforming figure from Hasbro Pulsat was announced. So yeah, definitely, if you haven't had a chance to watch that or listen to it, then you can find it on our YouTube channel and every other podcast service, iTunes, Spotify, and you can listen to us there. This has been a very weird couple of weeks where all 4 of us seem to all be on the same page with respect to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm really looking forward to watching something where some of us disagree and get back into arguments.
Rob craves the conflict. Yeah. The conflict. All right. So let's are we ready to talk Dredd then? We brought our special guest on.
Let's go, Dredd.
Thank you everyone in the chat. I see it's going crazy, so hope we'll be getting to you guys. I don't know if there's anything we want to go back and hit. I'm just doing a quick scroll here, but I think we can dive into Dredd and we'll kind of go back on there. So thank you again everyone for joining us. So Judge Dredd. Let me grab my notes here.
Oh boy.
What year was this? 2012?
Yes, 2012.
The year of 2012. Judge Dredd. Budget of
10 years.
30 to 40 mil. This was so relatively. Is this considered a lower budget for these newer action films? I feel like it's more modest, right? And then the box office only pulled in about 41.5 million. So generally considered a flop. But they do have a stat. We usually don't see these stats, but they had a home video release stat of 20 million, which is pretty impressive. So that brings it up to 60 million for this type of film. I feel like that's pretty respectable, and we'll get into like our thoughts on the film and things like that. Do we want to open with discussion on the Stallone Judge Dredd first. So I don't know if anyone else did the bonus homework. I managed to set these guys up. So Rob has watched it. John has watched it. Tim said he's watched it a million times back in the day. So I don't know if we can delve into
Four
it.
times in the theater.
Wow.
I loved it.
Wow. Remember that comment I made a while ago that says Rob wasted time and money?
That's every week you say that.
Over the Tim.
So this original film kind of suffered a similar fate. It had but it had a much bigger budget for that time. And you see a lot of it you do see a lot of money on the screen, but I feel like it just didn't pay off, and it was considered overall a flop. And I think I talked to a couple people before we started doing this, and they were like, I'd rather watch Demolition Man. I think it was maybe Lewis that said that, and I think I 100% would rather watch Demolition Man. But upon rewatching this movie, I feel like it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. If you fast forward through like 40 minutes of it and dive into the movie at that point,
that's a problem right there. That in itself is a problem.
No, I'll be honest with you. The biggest problem of the '95 Judge Dredd film starring, Sylvester Stallone, wasn't really the plot. The problem was that they made his character take off his helmet. That was the whole problem with that film. Everything
I think that's a minor plot. The things that he did while his helmet was off was part of the problem. So I think they could have got around. I think they could have got around this whole helmet coming off, but the scenes where he wasn't wearing a helmet.
Yeah, I mean, if you take out all the crazy stuff, the plot was actually pretty interesting, right? So I like that. I went back and watched it. Honestly, I realized I was dreading this. No pun intended. But it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Even
Points
the
on the
Rob
board,
Snyder
John.
part, even the Rob Snyder part wasn't as bad as I thought. Like, that whole, everybody jokes in that meme, that Mr. I am the law, right? That whole speech actually wasn't bad.
I did laugh when that happened.
Yeah, and everybody thinks it's a really bad part and they joke about it, but I mean, the speech wasn't bad. It was kind of this whole idea of, hey, Judge Dredd is like, the law's never wrong, and he's like, well, look at you, what happened to you, right? Like the law can't be wrong. What's going on? What do you have to say about that, right? So overall, I thought it was okay. It wasn't terrible. It definitely has that 90s movie feel to it, which is, I think, and that whole look and feel of it is no longer kind of in style, right? It's considered cheesy and everything. So yeah, I think it was okay. And you compare it against Demolition Man, and I think the reason Demolition Man is better is because Demolition Man didn't take itself seriously. There was that comedy in it, and it was
the other extreme.
Yeah, and they just kind of that's what it is. The comedy's there. We know this is a silly, ridiculous concept. Let's just go with it. Whereas I felt like Dredd, they just didn't know where they were going. Was this supposed to be serious? Was it supposed to be comedy? Was it supposed to be a mix?
I think they were trying. I think they were trying to go too serious, and it kind of probably backfired on them. Rob,
yeah, but you can't go too serious if you shove in Rob Snyder in there. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? So if you want to go serious, don't put him in.
I wonder if they added him afterwards.
No, the problem with the original, the Judge Dredd film back in '95 was that they were, because of Stallone's stardom at the time, because he was really big at the time. Demolition Man. I mean, he had Cliffhanger. He had a whole bunch of different action films coming out, and he basically, again, it's Hollywood. They wanted to market this to everyone, just because, again, at this time,
you're paying Stallone. You want Stallone's face in your movie.
Not only that, but it was also because they were marketing Judge Dredd as a superhero, which he's not, right? And he basically they were trying to get that broad audience. They were thinking we can't make him too violent, otherwise, the kids are not going to be able to go see it. And they really wanted to push the toy line at the time from Mattel, so that's why they went with more of that cheesy, an aspect of it. Because I mean, let's be honest. Even with the new 2012 film, it's a violent world, Mega City 1, right? It is not a pretty place to live in. And so, we see a glimpse of it in the '95 film, but it wasn't. I mean, I like '95 films, so yeah.
So we'll start. Saying the guy who saw it 4 times in theaters. So we'll start to move. Rob, do you think best use of Rob Snyder, or do you like him more in Surf Ninjas?
Surf Ninjas. Here's where I think the problem, and I agree with Tim, is that there was a huge outcry. I never read the Dredd comics. I wasn't like a faithful reader. I read a couple of them, but you knew you don't take off the helmet. Like that was a thing, and that was a huge outcry. I think the problem of the 95 movie is, first of all, it's a product of its time. It holds up as a product of its time. But the problem is that it didn't know what it wanted to do. As Tim said, Mega City 1 is supposed to be, it's a dystopian future. It's supposed to be the Dredd society. People are killing each other, and yet you have a very bright and shiny quote unquote hero who Stallone, while yes, he was doing Demolition Man, he was also making a huge killing in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, in Oscar. He was going in a bit of that comedy route. So he and the director Rob Cohen, they had really clashed a lot on this movie because he wanted to make it more comic booky, more pop, more fun, more Batman 66-ish. In its tone, and apparently the director had a whole bunch of scenes where it's a lot more violent, a lot more darker, and that's in Snyder, in the original cut. Rob Snyder was killed at the end, and Stallone had fought and argued to have him make some joke as he's being pulled away on the gurney and some of that at the end. So I think you had two conflicting ideas of what they wanted this movie to be, and this is the product that we got. Mix that with people in the UK were really pissed about him taking that helmet off, and you were just, it was a disaster. The only funny line out of that entire movie was the robot, and it's like, eat recycled food. It's good for the environment and okay for you. Like that to me is hilarious. I was like, I laugh at that. I remember that. I didn't go 4 times to the theater, but I will admit I went twice to the theater to see it in 95. I was 21. I was like, all right, I'm still, but it doesn't hold up for me as something that I want to rewatch again. I'm glad I recently saw it. If I have a 90s throwback party, I might put it on in the background with some episodes of In Living Color, but that's about it.
There's so many. I think it was some critics put it as their worst movie of that year. I think Roger Ebert or something like that had it on their list of the worst movie that year. But I guess we'll move on from that, and I think it will come up possibly in the discussion. So let's dive into simply titled Just Dredd, no Judge, Just Dredd, 2012, starring Karl Urban, Olivia Thirlby,
Thirlby,
yeah, and Lena Headey. Is it Headey?
Yeah, Headey.
Headey. Headey or Headley?
Headey.
Okay, so let's. I don't know if we want to talk. I don't know if there's anyone else that you would even consider part of the main cast. Other than maybe, I guess some of the villains last a little bit longer, so you kind of do recognize their faces. But let's talk about. You want to talk about Karl Urban first?
Best Dredd ever.
Yeah. So let's talk about Karl Urban.
Considering you only had 2, then yes.
Doesn't matter. No, honestly, I cannot see anyone else at this time. I can't see anyone else watching that film and just. Yeah. Just the first scene of him, and this is no spoilers. It's just he is in the beginning, the introduction of the character and of this universe, the 2000.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So before we get into it, I guess we should stay spoiler free. Upon the rewatch, now we've watched this a decade later. Right? Decade. Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
All right. We're old. Anyways, would you guys recommend it? Rob, I'll let you go first. Do you recommend someone watch it now that's never seen it?
Yes.
Oh hell yeah!
Sure.
Yeah. So Tim, Rob, in agreement? Yeah. I think we're all in agreement. Sure. Do you recommend they try and watch the 3D version?
Yes.
If possible, no.
No, not unless you've got unless you're going back in the movie theater and we get to see it in 3D again. Otherwise, I don't know when it comes to home theaters. I don't know how good it would be. I don't think you're gonna get the same experience.
Yeah.
Oh no! Okay, it's amazing. So I have a 3D. I know Fraser's probably going to jump in here. He made so. This is one of the movies I picked up when I first got my 3D plasma and the glasses and the player, Blu-ray. And I would bring people over and they're like, hey, you want to watch a movie, whatever. I'm like, sure. Let me put Dredd on for you guys. And we throw the glasses on, and they would be blown away because this movie was made for 3D. It wasn't a post-conversion movie.
It was shot with 3D cameras,
in
right?
3D. Yeah. So you could tell that level. So watching this movie, first of all, not only is it an action-packed movie, it's amazing. But if you're trying to flex and show your friends, am I using that term correctly? Flex? If you're flexing and showing your friends your 3D system, This is the movie you want to you're throwing on. You're not throwing on Avatar. You're throwing on Dredd.
Okay,
Right.
quick question. What are your choices? Avatar, maybe, and Dredd, and then what? The Resident Evil
Gravity.
movies? Like I don't.
No, Gravity.
Ooh, Gravity, yeah.
Okay, so
Resident
those are
Evil
those are
Evil
Rob's
movie.
three 3D movie recommendations. Did you guys see this in the theater in 3D originally? I definitely missed out on it.
I don't think I think I missed it in theaters. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember
So
seeing
me
it
and John
in
both missed it in
3 times.
It came and went quickly, like John on prom night. It was in a flash. It was gone.
Rob's book coming out soon, titled "On Things on Prom Night," and it'll just be every page will be all of Rob's jokes of the prom night. It'll be in the dad joke section of your chapters. So,
I was
don't worry about, you won't miss out.
I was so looking forward to seeing this in the movie theater, and I didn't miss it. Went day one, I went like the night before, and it was an awesome film. I loved every second of it. I loved Karl Urban. I loved how he portrayed Dredd. I mean,
okay. So back to Karl Urban. So yes, we all recommend it. We're going spoilers now, folks. Yeah, sorry. Continue with your Karl Urban.
Oh,
love.
all right. So for me, the thing I loved about the whole thing with Karl Urban was like you start feeling like how like menacing Dredd is beginning part of the film is he's suiting up. You never see his face. Right. And I just love that part, and then they introduced, they talked about Mega City 1. And then you get kind of introduced to not only to the city, but you also get very quickly introduced to the main antagonist, which is the drug, part of the Mama clan. And I mean, like, again, it was just like it was a perfect scene, particularly in 3D they got sparkles sort of happening and they have this slow motion happening, and it was done so beautifully. And then it's just Dredd, and then it's just Dredd being, Karl Urban just being Judge Dredd chasing down crooks, and it was just a great beginning scene, And then I was mentioning to the guys just as we were getting on is then they moved to the next scene of Dredd, the Chief Justice and Dredd. And we get introduced to the female character of the story, which is
okay. Yeah, wait. We're gonna get to Anderson. We're gonna get.
All
to Anderson.
right. I'll slow down.
I'll let John. John, you want to jump in and say anything about Karl Urban here?
I mean, honestly, good on him. I don't know if there'd be many other actors who would take this part and go, you know what? All we're gonna see is your chin, right? In this kind of like, not a big movie role, right? Like this wasn't supposed to be like this big summer blockbuster. So the fact that he took it and was willing to do that was good on him. And he's a big I guess actor. He loves playing these parts, right? He always takes, he's a big comic book guy, he's a big nerd guy. He's been on, if you think of all the big properties, he's kind of been in them, right? Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, blah blah blah, right? So but good on him for taking that, and I think he played it perfectly with just enough gravitas and kind of like mean streak in the background where you're like, this guy is kind of, he's not exactly perfect. There's something off about him.
Yeah,
we're not really sure what it is.
He's not right. Yeah, he put a lot of work into that voice. It's very, very distinctive. Rob, you have any thoughts on Karl Urban?
Yeah,
or
no, I was
want him replaced with Keith Urban?
Keith Urban, yeah, or even Keith Sweat. Even Keith Sweat.
I definitely want Keith Sweat.
He's got me all twisted, John. No, listen. He was doing, as Jonathan said, he is a fan of this property. He didn't want to do a disservice to it. He did a Dredd version of like Dirty Harry, right? I mean, the no emotion, no nonsense, not going to take any shit. I have a job to do, and that's it. And there's no deviation from it. But it wasn't campy. He didn't play it up. He didn't go over the top. That's the worst thing I think you could do with a character like this, is that you could go over the top. And he didn't. He was very well reserved, and he let the material speak for itself. So a huge fan of his portrayal. And I wish we had a sequel. This is a movie that should have had. We should be we should be talking about the Dredd trilogy at this point. Why we're not is been unbeknownst to me.
Yeah. And we'll get it. I actually really liked his role. I like the costume design. We'll get a little bit more into the costume later, and we'll talk a little bit more about what he put into the role. Like he was the one riding those bikes. I think he insisted that he is actually riding the bikes in a lot of the training and stuff like that. So we're gonna cover that. Yeah, Rob will cover that in when we get to our favorite scenes. So we'll talk. We got two more main cast members we'll talk about. So I guess I'll let Tim go first because he already had it on deck. Anderson.
Perfect.
Do you like this girl? We I don't know what happened to her. We don't really see much of her after this movie, I feel like, or whatever. But I thought her job was pretty good on it. But
Oh no,
yeah,
she
go
did
ahead,
an
Tim.
amazing job. She did an amazing job as Judge Anderson. The introduction of her whole progression through the film, of her kind of like first day on the job kind of aspect. She did an amazing job. The way they introduced her, having the I guess if anyone doesn't know the character all that well, is in Mega City we have nuclear holocaust occurs, and essentially there are mutants, and so she is a mutant, right? And she has abilities, but the thing is they really downplayed those abilities to make them feel more real world, which was just great. And she did an amazing job throughout the whole film. She looked like a deer caught in the headlights at the beginning of the film, and at the end of the film she was a total badass. She did a tremendous job. She felt great in this film. Like, honestly, I'd love to have seen a sequel, and she would have done a great job. Her and Carl were great in this film. They did a great.
Yeah, they had
really
good,
well.
they had good chemistry, and I think she. I think part of the story is, I didn't pick it up when I was watching the movie, is that she kind of like semi-failed the test before this, or like the
she flunked out.
I totally missed that. Yeah, and then this was, I guess, her last chance, and we all know at the end of the movie, the Judge Dredd actually gives her a pass. So that's very interesting that this
which is an interesting line.
Cold ass dude. Yeah.
Well,
so
that's the thing, right?
You
The
can
whole
go,
point of that
now,
is,
John.
Yeah. I thought she was, again, like Tim said, she played an amazing part. Range of emotions. Going from kind of like scared and unsure at the start to being fully confident. But it was interesting. She became almost fully confident after she realized like that she didn't want to be a judge, or wasn't.
No, that she was going to fail.
She lost. One of the rules is you lose your weapon, you fail, or whatever. So she thought she failed. So maybe she cut loose after that, or it's
possible, something like that.
I think, and that was the moment, and that's what Tim was saying, is that towards the end she becomes a badass and is more confident and full of herself. And I think at that moment was once her sideline, her lawgiver was taken away from her, and she knew at that point it's a conditional. I'm dead. Like, that's it. I'm done as a judge, and so I might as well go balls to the wall and do what I want. That is a testament to her acting, because you can tell she had the weight of going. It's like taking your driver's ed test. She was kind of freaking out throughout the entire time, very unsure of herself, very second guessing herself to answers that she was giving Dredd. And then once she got out of that situation, then when she was captured, she didn't give a shit anymore. She just went out for it, right? And so, yeah, it was amazing to see her transition.
And even that point when there's that one scene where she like decides to let the tech go. Right, and Judge is like, what's going on? Like, that's not even a fail. That's like a crime. And she's just like, well, I failed anyways. What are you going to do about it? Right? I'm still a judge. I can dispense justice. Do something about it, right?
It was also just even before those 2 points. It was when she basically, she's essentially, the criminal that they arrest through the film, and then he's gloating over her. And he says, "You got anything else to say?" And she goes, "I was just going to say the same thing. Do you got anything else to say? Bitch." And he basically, and that forces him to pull the trigger, which makes her lawgiver explode. And then
the old explodey hand trick.
Yeah. Oh, it was great though. It was a great scene, and the fact
done better in this movie than in Blade.
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
So. How did it look in 3D, Rob?
Amazing. Yeah. Listen, and we'll talk about that later. But I did watch it twice. I watched it again in 3D and not in 3D because I think I think it does add a different element to the movie. So it looked amazing. So I actually saw that comment, Sarah. So I didn't say she put her balls to the wall, did I? She was kicking ass, and everybody else's balls were flying up against the wall. So thanks for your comment.
But I also think,
let's not get into the meaning of that phrase. I don't understand it fully.
Again, for me I just like the fact that even the point when she kills that one guy in the middle of the film when they're trying to get to the hospital area in the block. And she's like, oh my god, I just killed someone. So at that point you literally knew like she never killed anyone up until that point, and then she was in it, like she was in the meat grind. And I think that was great. And again, it was like her reaction to it, but it was also her reaction to how, like, again, Judge Dredd, that Karl Urban's Dredd was just like he was a tank. This man is menacing. This man, he's able to kill this many people, and it's just like another day for him, you know. And it was just great sort of seeing Dredd through her eyes through this film, and that's what I loved about it.
Yeah. Originally, I was going to ask for a 30-second summary of the movie, but it's basically like, it would be Tuesday for Dredd. Just another Tuesday for Dredd. So let's okay. So let's talk about Lena. I actually feel like she was very underutilized in this film. This villain was basically just a villain for villain's sake, but she did a good job with it.
I disagree.
So I disagree. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, so first off, she did an amazing job as being a villain. And I love it when women can do great villain roles. And when they're let loose, they're not having to worry about anything. And she was menacing. She was menacing in the fact that she had underlings and subordinates who would listen to her. And without it, like throughout the film, there are actual criminals who dress like her, who want to be her because of how badass she is. You know, she literally, without blinking an eye, she said, just skin him and just throw him over the edge, right? Like, she does not care. And, you know, and then again, there's a scene where she grabs hold of a minigun or a rail gun. I'm not sure in this future what this one was, a minigun, and she wants to kill Dredd. Like, she wants to kill him, and she thinks she has the power, but she doesn't, in a sense, at the end of the film. But she does an amazing job. She is like the introducer in such a great way. They show that how violent she can be. She is just as violent as any man out there. And just an amazing performance of a villain. I loved her as an antagonist in a film. Probably one of the best ones I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. John, what are you thinking?
But I also like that she was super calm about it too. Like, we talked about Judge Dredd being calm with kind of like this demeanor, mean streak underneath. She's the exact same thing. Like, there was never panic in anything. It was always just like, lock them in. Let's do this. Or, we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. It was all just super calm, collective. Let's just do this. This is how we're going to take them out. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And I thought she was amazing in the way she portrayed it. And it was a good kind of like mirror of like, two characters that are on the same kind of thought process going at it head to head.
The same psyche. Yeah.
Yeah, same
Rob,
psyche. Yeah.
Rob, is this pre Game of Thrones, Lena?
So actually, she did. Game of Thrones actually debuted in April of 2011. So this was filmed around would have been just after she finished filming Game of Thrones season 1. Now, my understanding is that she actually, this is not a character that was in the comic books, I think, originally. And my understanding is that she was actually going through a pretty bad divorce and needed a lot of money. And I think she was pretty open about the fact that she kind of took this role because she needed to pay some lawyer's fees, and her ex-husband was kind of milking her for a lot of this money because she still didn't have that massive Game of Thrones bank account, right? They had only filmed
I remember
1.
from the Sarah Connor Chronicles. And all of a sudden she plays this character, and I'm like, whoa.
Right. And so
I think I don't know if the character... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I think the character did exist. I don't know if it's just in the script or not, but it was supposed to be an obese. Maybe it was the original script. She's supposed to be like a big obese lady that just wears a ton of makeup, and then I guess she came in for the audition, or they just somehow got her to play the part.
But
sorry,
I mean,
go ahead.
She did an amazing job. I mean, like, again, she was riding that crest coming off of that first season of Game of Thrones. But when she filmed this movie, it hadn't been released yet. So, or had just been released, I guess. So, good for her. She did an amazing job, and. Yeah, man. I mean, she was badass. It's, I was all for it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So yeah. All right. So we got our cast out of the way. So let's start talking about your favorite moments of the movie. I don't know if you guys need a second to gather that together. Anyone in the comments, definitely throw out your favorite scenes from the movie. Who wants to go first? You want to go first, Tim?
Sure, I don't mind. I
would say I mentioned them already.
I loved them all. I loved every scene in there. I think my one favorite scene out of all is going to be at the very tail end of the film when Anderson and Dredd are basically now they've met up, they've got their guns, and they're now going after Mama in her den, so to speak, and basically them just going full tactical on the villains. And it was just great seeing those two work and how it was seen. It was just a great action scene. I thought that was great. I mean, I loved it. Even like, every part of the film was just great. I mean, the other part for me was when the moment they go into peach trees and they see the one vagrant, and basically Dredd says, "Be gone, or I'm going to put you in iso cubes." Right? They come back out of Peachtrees, and they're like, "All right, I warned you. You're in it now. 2 years, iso cubes." And as they're saying that, the blast doors come slamming down, and they just like, "Oh, what the fuck just happened?"
You figure he's got a second. You figure it's like a garage door. It's going to slowly advance.
Right.
Yeah,
no.
Just
You're like,
smashes this guy.
"Oh shit." And I think that was a really great scene too.
Okay, so that'll segue into a quick thing that I was going to do later, but let's do it now. Who do you think died the worst in this movie? So, Tim, I'll let you think for a second. John or Rob, do you guys have an idea of who you think got it the worst in this movie?
I mean, if I was thinking about it, the guys that got slow-moed and thrown out those that top roof.
Yeah, right at the beginning, they got skinned
yeah.
and thrown off, right? Yeah,
that would have to be the worst. I can't think of anybody else who died. Everybody else who died pretty fast. I mean, I don't know about getting like an exploding firecracker shot through your head. That seems pretty bad too.
Oh, come on.
I don't know how bad that feels. I don't know if that's fast or slow death. I have no idea, but
Rob, do you think that those guys that got skinned got it worse than, I guess, Mama, who got like a super duper overdose, but she wasn't skinned and then thrown off?
You know what? I'm gonna pivot, and I hate that word. I am going to pick a different death. I think that when Dredd is fighting that other judge on that, not a catwalk, but on the whatever, and they're fighting, and the scaffold, thanks, and he slams his lawgiver into the other judge's throat, and you see his throat like collapse, and he's gasping for air because his windpipe has been completely crushed. His Adam's apple is blocking it. Like that to me, I mean, yes, we can talk about like the falling bodies and the skin and everything else of that, but seeing that guy struggling, right? Because he knows he's dying. He knows he's dead. There's nothing you can do. You can't cough it out.
He just kind of like crap.
you can't cough it out.
Right? Right? You can't like
pop that hole
and pop it back out again, right? It's not a balloon. So that for me, I was like, man, that was brutal.
That was
maybe he could have done a reverse Steven Seagal and ripped his trachea out.
Right? Yeah.
Brought in here. Tim, I don't know if you have anything that can top those other than.
I think it was that moment when Dredd turned the tables on the guys that were trying to get him in the hollow booth. They basically, he goes incendiary, and he's on the other side of the balcony, and he just launches this incendiary grenade over to the other side, and everyone is now caught on fire, and they're screaming, they're they're falling over the ledge, and even when they get to that point where when Dredd tosses Mama off the top roof kind of thing, and then you're slowly going by it, you're still seeing those people still burning alive on that balcony just before she dies. I mean, yes, that scene where the three drug dealers are dead. I mean, like, even going back to her when she gets thrown off the ledge. I mean, you just seen that scene, and you see her when she sees the smoke, and you can see that she thinks it's clouds. She's looking like she's an angel, and then she gets through the clouds, and she's like, "Oh fuck, I'm going to die." And I thought that was a great scene. I
feel like she was fine with it. She was like, "This is a fitting end."
The one that shocked me the most, and it still does shock me, is a scene where Judge Anderson she's attacking two assailants, and she grabs one assailant's gun and she starts shooting him, and you just start seeing his head do this,
see his face
and it explodes. It's just an amazing scene. It's just a great one.
Okay, so we've talked about, like, John, do you have any other favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene that maybe
I
you
actually
didn't
did like the it's not so much an action scene, but the call 911 scene.
Right.
That twist where the three that was pretty cool. Like, it's like, what are we going to do? And she's just like, call 911, and then you see these judges show up, and then the two judges are outside waiting for this door to open, right?
They're like, come on.
They're like, come on, let us in, right? And then they're just like, he makes one call, the door opens, and he's just like, you're relieved, and then they're just like, what? And then they're like, the four judges walk in. I thought that was a cool twist in the movie. I like that. I thought that was a cool scene.
Yeah, there's clearly like an experience differentiation between judges and things like that.
Oh, those
Rob,
two guys at the door,
yeah.
Rookie cops for sure. Rookie judges for sure.
They're the lazy ones who want to get the donuts and stuff like that.
They're just like, oh, whatever, we'll just go.
I just noticed a comment right now from Sentaku Select where it says that liked how judges were all the same. Dredd was more of a veteran, but nonetheless still a judge. That was not even just that. It's the fact that all the judges knew who Judge Dredd was. Like, it was the Judge Dredd, right? Yeah. Like, it's like everyone knows. Like, you just don't, like, if you get caught by Dredd, you're done. It doesn't matter. There's no fair, like, it is, you've done a crime, you're done if you get Dredd catches you. And if you pull a gun, you're dead.
Right? It's tactically, he's he knows what he's doing and he's a hard kill, right? Those judges were like $1 million and Mama's like $1 billion. And they're like, do you know who this judge is? Like, I should be charging you more for this, right?
Yeah.
They should up their price. Rob, was there any scenes we missed that were even more glorious in 3D maybe or something?
Well, I mean, listen, I want to talk about Alex Garland a little bit later in the show, who wrote this, but I think that this movie, one of the amazing parts of it is the cinematography for it. The scene where Anderson she's in the interrogation room and Dredd and the head judge our chief justice, are talking, and you can see the reflection of Dredd in the window. I mean, just it's beautifully shot. But the one scene that always sticks out for me is right after, and Tim mentioned earlier about Mama on the minigun, blowing the entire block away, right? And Dredd comes back and he kills the scout troop that are out there trying to find him. And he walks up with Caleb. I think it was Caleb, right? Her original right-hand man.
Yeah.
And he sits there and he just looks over and you can see that Mama's just looking across the way saying, holy shit, this guy's still alive. And he just looks and without hesitation, like just chucks him off and then spins around and walks back through the cloud of the smoke.
Yes,
like
slow walks off.
Right. Like Judge Dredd, the best thing about this interpretation of how Karl Urban did it is that he's not an imposing figure. He's not a huge muscular guy. He's not, 6'7" and this and that. He's not playing it where he's way over the top and angry and gruff. His reputation is what precedes him. Right. And he's like every killer in every movie, be it Michael Myers or whatever else, he's a slow walker and he gets the job done. Right. Like, so that for me, that scene was just amazing. Just watching it.
Tim kind of hinted at it and you're kind of mentioning it. I feel like it's almost just the overall package.
The gravitas.
I'm actually hard pressed to pick like one favorite scene. I feel like it's just the whole package of the movie. So we'll dive in a little bit, and there's a comment here that actually takes us right into that. So Scott Graziano says, what up, Scott? He says the worst scene is when that female judge is pausing to kill Anderson because she's like, hey, my whole plan is like, she sees me, I'm a judge, she hesitates, I shoot her, haha, we win.
No, it's great,
and then she kind of but she kind of like they're right. She kind of like stops and lets Anderson like use her psychic ability and then shoot her. But I think that's it's a minor criticism. So do we have any criticism? I'll let you defend it first.
No.
Yeah,
because you got to remember, because again, the cop, they set the whole scene up beforehand. She basically says, I have the upper hand, because at that point, no one knows. Mama didn't know, the criminals, other than the one criminal who knew, and the cops didn't know. No one knew outside of the Chief Justice Dredd now and Anderson, who knew she was a psychic. No one else knew. Yeah. And so that Dredd, that scene where, she's got her gun, she's got it up, she's ready to shoot, and then she sees the female judge, and then, and then the female judge says, it's me. She's not going to automatically bring her gun up right away because, again, Judge Anderson already has the drop on her. So she doesn't. Right. So again,
that's why I guess
maybe she was waiting for her to lower the gun.
Yeah. So she's waiting for that gun to lower. So then she's going to then shoot her. But that's when Judge goes. When her powers kick in, and she knows that she's going to get killed. That's when she kills her. It was a perfect scene. Yeah. Perfect scene.
Okay. So I guess anything other than why doesn't this have a sequel? Do you guys have any criticisms at all? I'll let just anyone jump in if they've got any.
None.
Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I was going to say the only thing for me is that I felt that the Anderson's use of her psychic ability was, she's interrogating Kay, right, to the point where she makes him piss his pants because she screws him in his psyche and his mind. But when she was captured, she could have done the same thing. Like she could have incapacitated him using her abilities, and yet she didn't. So I thought that was a little bit. For me, I was like, well, wait a minute. You have this superpower, essentially. Just use it. But whatever it is, it's not it. So,
yeah. So muddy psychic abilities. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, John.
For me, like, this is super nitpicking, but like that first chase scene, like, he's chasing down the guys and they're doing all this stuff, and they run over a guy, and then he goes to say, he's like, Central, I'm going to take them down. And I was like, you were taking them down anyways. Like, what were you going to do? Just like pull them over, give them a ticket? Like, they were screwed no matter what, right? So it was just kind of weird to me, but that's like super nitpicky.
I think it was lethal force. I think that was the difference, was because at that point They were they were eluding him. They were leaving. They were trying to get away from the scene. So again, different crime, right?
I mean, but
there's
even
ice
the guys,
cubes and then killing, right?
Even the guys in like the van, they were like there's a judge on us. We're screwed. Like we're dead anyway. So clearly these guys were not like first time criminals. They've done a bunch of other stuff. So they knew as soon as they were getting caught, whether they were dying on the spot or like they were going to find out who these guys were. These guys were going to have tons of records and they were dead anyways. I'm pretty sure like that was it. It wasn't, they were done anyway. So it was just kind of weird to me, but that's super nitpicky. There's really nothing else I can think of that was super annoying to me when I was watching this movie.
Yeah. So overall, a great package and well put together. So I just had Rob. You said you wanted to talk a little bit about the person who wrote the movie? So.
So Alex Garland was credited as the writer of this. He was actually working on this script from almost 2007, 2008, 2006. He was helping develop how they were going to use the slow-mo with the drug and everything else like that. Now, Alex Garland's first directorial movie was Ex Machina, but apparently there was a lot of issues on set with this credited director. I can't remember the name. Oh, Pete Travis. So much so that apparently Garland is the one that kind of stepped in and was doing a lot of the directing for this movie. So if you're a fan of Ex Machina or Annihilation, which you should be, by the way, also with Domhnall Gleeson, who was the cyber kid, the ginger cyber kid.
He also did the 28 weeks later too.
That's right. He wrote 28 days later. I think he wrote the first one.
I think he did both actually. It says 28 days and 28 weeks.
Probably. And Sunshine, like he wrote Sunshine. Yeah. So as a writer, he's written some amazing things as a director. So if you're like a cinephile and you're thinking, I love Alex Garland stuff, and his first movie is Ex Machina as a director, actually, there is an asterisk on that. You would probably be well served to think that this would be his directorial debut, because he and you can just kind of tell it has a lot of his DNA in this picture, just like John's prom night.
Again, another chapter in Rob's book. In the dad joke section, you'll find
the John joke section. That's all it is. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so I've came up with a couple new kind of just categories to add to our movie reviews. I don't know if they're going to stick around or not. So let's do. So our first one is, since we always talk about it, John Wick, probably the pinnacle of modern action movies in the style that they created with the super realistic, or I don't know if I would call it realistic, but the super intricate gunplay and things like that. How does this movie from 2012 measure up to that stick? And I feel like they were actually on the road to get there, because Karl Urban and even the female Judge Anderson character, they all did training in weapons and combat. The gun they used, the Lawgiver, is basically a heavily modified Glock, and just things like that. So like, Tim, do you feel like they were quite there? Or they're not. I don't think they quite got to the level that John Wick.
It's two different types of action films. I mean, as much as John Wick is all about like the movement, the ballet of guns and violence, right? This is more of like Judge Dredd, and even with Judge Anderson, it's more like they're sledgehammers. It's meant they're tactical. They're cops. They're going to train and show and everything like cops. You're not going to
they're not going to be fancy about it. They're just going to shoot you.
They're going to shoot you. Yeah. That's all it is. There's no dancing around. Like, if there's any kind of dancing, it'd be like that dancing, that scene in Judge Dredd where it's Dredd fighting the other combatant, where they have the same kind of tactical experience. And even then with Dredd, there's the scene where when Dredd basically knows he's cornered and he has to fight these guys and he has to do whatever he takes to survive. But even then, you could see that he's trying to find a tactical advantage over his opponents, and he hides behind like a solid steel cabinet, because he knows that's going to give him the best protection in this open room full of like where all these drugs are being made. And so I think that's a lot different. Whereas, if this was John Wick kind of thing, is he would kind of jump over the table and shoot, or ballet or whatever around it, and I'm not
ballet. So, let's say jujitsu more. Jujitsu and
but it's gun fu. Yeah. I mean, it's like you're not. Like, Dredd is not like that. Dredd is a hammer. He is a complete 100% a sledgehammer, and that is how he was portrayed in the film. And as for action, same level. That's for me that's what it boils down to. It is same level, just different style.
Yeah, different style. What about you, John? Would you
I actually
classify
don't
it?
think I wouldn't consider it on the same level as John Wick.
Mhm.
John Wick, they're two different movies. Like John Wick is a 100-meter dash, right? It's like, there's scenes in between, but it's one action scene, jump to another. This one felt like there was more of a suspense in between. There were some slow points where you're just like, kind of this tense, like what's gonna happen, and then the action scene would happen, right? And then you had these kind of build-ups, and then something happens again, right? There's a little bit of the suspense of what's gonna happen. Whereas I felt John Wick was like, just this dash of one action. So there was way more action in John Wick compared to this one.
Yeah.
Not that that's a negative or anything. That's just, I think, the way it was, just in terms of the different styles of film.
Yeah. So we've done this trip back in time to 80s style action. So Rob, do you think this is more of like a tribute to that, to like what those movies could have become if they just kind of carried on their path?
First of all, let me just say that my next drink is sponsored by White Claw vodka seltzer. It's mango flavor, and I hope everybody has a good night.
Everybody hit Rob up. We ship them cases.
That's very mango-y. Okay, so I think online I had said that it falls into the same kind of. I made a comparison to John Wick, and not that they are like for like. This is not an apples to apples comparison. We've got John Wick because it's a very different movie. Tim said it. Jonathan said it. Even Gordon has mentioned it in the comments, and everybody else. And Fraser with Gun Fu. It's a martial arts action movie, is what John Wick is. A revenge movie. Every trope that you want to throw out. It's a great movie. But I think that this movie is in the same league as John Wick in terms of you have 90 minutes. Or even 100 minutes at home, and there's nobody around to bother you. You are well served by throwing this movie in if you want to watch a good action movie, just as you are throwing in John Wick. And I think that that was what my initial reasoning for trying to make the comparison for is that, they're on the same level in terms of the enjoyment that you are going to get out of it. Two different movies altogether, still under the same action genre idea. Two different movies, but it is so rewarding. This movie is just, for me, it's as rewarding as watching John Wick. I love watching John Wick. I'm happy there's three of them, and that's why I said I wish there's three of these, because it felt like they could have evolved. Yes, they share. They're on different ends of the boat, but they're still on the same boat of enjoyment, and that's all that matters, John. In terms of is this a movie that harkens back to more of an 80s action? I think it's obviously there's a lot of special effects, and let's not call it slow motion anymore. Let's call it the Zack Snyder rule. So there's a lot of Zack Snydering happening in this movie. It looks amazing, but they use a lot of practical effects for their action scenes, and that's what I love about it. Even the splayed bodies, and Tim mentioned about Anderson taking that gun and blowing that guy's face apart. That is a very 80s scene, seeing like the flesh flying around. I mean, when he breaks into the first building, and they're using air guns to make the flesh ripple, but they use practical effects as opposed to VFX, right? So, I think, this movie, at the end of the day, the movie delivers, and there is, we are lucky that we have this movie that we can watch as often as we want.
I think so this was definitely a hark back more, I think, to 70s, like that gritty film noir, dark kind of very, very hero kind of aspect. More so than I'll even say early 80s. More than that than like late to middle 80s, middle to late 80s. This is from like the early 80s kind of stuff, which I think is great.
Yeah. So that'll lead into my next quick question was, since all these movies kind of look and want to be this formula, is this movie Fast and Furious able? Like, what
does that mean?
Can you like spin it off into like friggin' 8 different movies and have side characters go away and come back, and you can stitch together characters from other movies? So I don't know if you
I'll
think
take this one
could
first.
be go.
So
go,
I would say the closest. Well, actually, I would say this technically has been done already, just in reverse. If you look at the first Fast and the Furious movie, it was kind of grounded, one small plot, a very, very small and centralized group of people, and it ended up at some crazy, ridiculous world conspiracy thing with crazy actions that don't make any sense. Judge Dredd has done that in reverse. We got the Stallone movie first, which is crazy, ridiculous, over the top plot and actions that don't make sense, and then we ended up at a smaller, centralized, very more reality grounded actions film. So I would say they've already done that, but just in reverse.
The 2000 AD comics has a lot. Like it's got a whole bunch of different characters.
Yeah, they've got a whole library of different books that they publish, right?
Like there's Strodium Dog. I mean, there's so many different things. It's just that when it comes to Dredd and Mega City 1, like you can't really like. There's a bunch of different characters within the universe that sort of either are villains or like they're
so if they created this universe, you don't think Judge Dredd could be like an Avenger and assemble with some type of team, or you think he's just better off on his?
No,
so it's better if this movie is just on its own.
It's the judges. Like at the end of the day, like there's no like it's judges. It's criminals, citizens, and judges. I mean that's it. Unless you go out to the wastelands. But I mean, you can't really. The villains are where a lot of the characters come from in the 2000 AD universe. The 95 film, what made that one so great for me was how they introduced like the Angel Gang and Mean Machine and the ABC Robot Warrior.
I've heard of those guys.
Like all those things that were in the first film were great homages to the comics. But again, this universe is not there's not like a Captain America version of a judge or a Thor version of a judge. They're all judges. It doesn't matter where you are on Earth or in the universe. You have judges, and that's it. So.
But now they have a Jean Grey version.
Yeah.
I think the one thing about this movie, and listening to Tim and thinking about the 95 and listening to what Tim's saying, this movie is very self-contained. It's Attack on the Block, right? It is. You're in a building and that's it. And I don't know how this world and this current interpretation of Dredd would fare if you start introducing the comic book elements into it, because I think that it changes the scope and the feel potentially of the movie. And I don't know how you go about doing that. So,
there's been the thought of or hope that there's possibly a TV series that could spin out of this. Would you prefer that, Rob, if they had like either Cinemax or Netflix or Amazon Prime or something?
Why you're the only person I know that keeps mentioning Cinemax, and I feel like that's like a baby bloom channel from like years ago in the US.
CW? Would you want to see a CW Judge Dredd?
I think Cinemax is like softcore porn stuff, man. I don't know why you keep mentioning Cinemax.
I can see them. If they're going to do this, then they're going to have to introduce something. If you're going, it's the villains, and I mean the biggest villain in like Judge Dredd and everything is Judge Death, right. and his judges, right? That's where if they're going to lead it anywhere, is you have to introduce this other dimension of judges who are all basically death incarnate. And that was where I think if they're going to lead anything into a show, would be like lead into that, But I feel like if they're going to do a show and make this into like a television series, then it really has to be done where like, you can have like the main overall plot with some kind of like smaller plots of them sort of solving daily crimes. But the overall plot is like the Angel Gang or, introducing something like some big menacing part, but it'd be difficult. I mean, it'd be like, it's like Miami Vice on steroids.
I like the single serve. I like that this is just another Tuesday for Dredd. And then next movie would just be a Wednesday and things like that.
I think that's fine. But almost every show we have now is like the weekly procedural. But there's always this overarching, story for the season. There's a big bad overall, and I think you might be able to get away with maybe like, if we're talking about 10 episodes, like a season of it. And then at the end of that season, you would have to have something drop of like a larger conspiracy going on, and that would roll into your next season. But I don't think you can do like the, weekly story and that's it. I don't think that would fly.
I'd have the Disney
people
Plus.
Would want more.
I want the Disney Plus. This is like 6 episodes, like the 6 episodes.
Because they got the money. It'll look that good, but they won't have as much violence as this particular movie. That's why
I wanted it as violent. It has to be
Cinemax. The Rob doesn't watch it all.
It has to be as violent. You can't, like, to me, you can't. I know this would be a television series. If it was on Netflix or Amazon Prime, it has to be on that same level of action and violence that they have in the film. has to be kind of put into the actual television show. It would have.
But you
to
could,
be, you know,
you could put it on HBO and do like a 10 episode kind of thing.
Yeah.
As a season. That would work. I think that would work, right?
Yeah. Okay, so TV show, we would be pretty happy if that happened or not. So I think we pretty much covered everything we want to talk to. I had one last kind of silly thing. I don't know if anyone had an idea for this, but my last idea was done in the style of, so basically if you had some other property or some other character that you would do a movie for them in the style of Dredd. So I don't know if you guys came up with anything. I have something, but if you guys came up with anything.
Okay, well, why don't you lead us off? Because I don't know if it's the boost speaking to me, but I have no clue what you're talking about. So why don't you lead us off and explain what the hell you're trying to say?
Okay, so these half-cooked ideas I come up with in the middle of the night. So hopefully they'll become something. So my idea for the movie is I was gonna say, okay, so this is the selling point of this old property that I would bring back and do in the style of this Dredd movie. So it reads as, it was the roughest of planets. They needed 1,000 lawmen. They got one. He was enough. Brave Star. So I don't know if you guys remember Brave Star.
Yeah, I remember
Back
Brave
in the
Star.
day, yeah. So I had a quick picture here.
Interesting.
It's got a very kind of gritty idea that they have one cop that's going to police this entire planet or sector or something like that. So I thought it would be really cool if Brave Star made a comeback.
Interesting.
In this, because everything you take from the past, you want to kind of modernize it. So it became a very gritty, dark, kind of spacey show with this Judge Dredd element to it. So I don't know if that makes sense to anybody.
I didn't when you told me this question, I didn't even think of it that way. My first thought was, let's break this movie down to a bunch of people have to work their way up through a building. That was my thought, right? And
so Game of Death like movie, yes.
Yeah, or The Raid, which is kind of roughly the same idea, right? So my two ideas were, one would be, which was kind of done already, but like a Daredevil or a Spider-Man working his way up through Fisk's tower all the way to Fisk at the top.
Oh yeah, no. So
that would be something like that.
That's the same thing. Right? Yeah, we would do.
Yeah.
You would do a Daredevil movie in the style of the Raid / Dredd.
Right, and that would be super. That could be super grim. That's fine. Yeah. Right. The other one that wouldn't be super grim at all, but the same idea, would be Inspector Gadget getting all the way up to Dr. Claw.
That would be 12 minutes. Just his legs would go, and that's it. He's done.
Would you bring Matthew Broderick back?
No. It'd be cartoon stuff.
Wow. I can't think of anything. I mean,
okay, so
I'm sorry. I mean, like, if you think
I'll work on
the only
these
idea
ideas.
the only thing that came to mind was just with you showing Brave Star would be the Silverhawks.
That's what I was thinking. The same thing.
Oh, wow.
If you want to go that route, or like, if you want to go even you go like Centurions, from the 80s cartoon.
Oh, wow.
Mask.
How would that work though? Would only one of the guy who has on the underwater stuff would just be like, I'll sit here at the bottom in the pool. See you guys later.
Probably. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like I don't even know how you could do that with the Judge Dredd universe. I mean, yeah, I can't help it, man.
Anyways, I'll keep working on these ideas, folks.
I think if you wake up in the middle of the night and you have another idea, just don't write it down. Or speak to a dream
Brave
coach.
Star, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. Anyways, we briefly mentioned it. Raid, another movie very similar to this one in kind of almost tone and style and even just the execution of, we're going to the top of this tower. Would you guys rather watch this or the Raid? I'll let you can't watch. You can't pick both. You pick one.
I can.
Are you gonna pick one?
I can.
I'll pick one right after the other.
Yeah.
Okay, which one do you watch first?
I would pick Dredd, and then I would, once it ends, I would stop him as soon as he throws Mama off, and then I would put on Die Hard, because then that movie is about him trying to get back down the building. So I figure we've just watched a movie of somebody going up, and then we're going to finish it with somebody coming back down. So for me, that's...
And then we'll put the Raid on afterwards, and he's going back up a different building.
It's just, for me, it's just, there's such a great... I mean, both of them are such great properties. I mean, man, like, the Raid is such an amazing film. It's an amazing action or martial arts film. but it's just and and it has a similar tone, but at the same time it also has like it's a little bit different and how more personable that movie is.
I think Dredd is tighter, like an overall movie story. I think it's tighter.
It
Raid,
is.
the action.
Action
I think
is
the action is definitely better.
I think action's good for both because I mean, literally, I remember when I sat down and watched The Raid the first time, and I was like, oh, okay, just a normal film. And there's a moment where he kicks someone off the damn like floor, and that guy lands back first on the banister on like a floor below, and I see the guy bend like almost 90 degrees, and I jumped out of my seat going, holy fuck, that guy is dead, because it looks like he broke his back. Like it was just because that was such an amazing stunt that was done. And again, like The Raid has amazing practical effects stunts. Seeing the guy just taking the guy's head and smashing it, repeatedly against the side of the wall, where he takes the one guy, he jumps backwards into the guy's head into the door frame. I mean, just amazing films, But I mean, like again, like Dredd is just it. If you're saying like which one I'd watch first, then I'd say Dredd. But I mean, I love the Raid universe as well. Oh yeah.
I want to ask though, like the people in the chat, I want to know if they enjoyed this movie, and I want to know, I watched it in 3D because we talked, and I watched it in regular version as well, and I don't know if anybody else had an opportunity to watch it in 3D. But did people enjoy watching this movie? Are you glad? Did anybody not see this movie before when it first came out or on home release or whatever? And this was your first time watching it, and what your thoughts are? Because
because you're watching it a decade after it's
it's amazing that it doesn't feel like a 10-year-old movie.
I know.
No, this could have came out this week on Netflix or something like that, and we would have been like, "Ooh, brand new movie! It looks exactly like today's movies, except for the 3D gimmick." I feel like it was a thing that was happening that no one really does anymore. Although I think this movie would be way better to watch in 3D when I was watching some of those action sequences, especially the Gatling gun ripping through everything. So I definitely think watching the 3D would be definitely ideal.
I will say that if you haven't, there are a few movies where you can watch both 3D and regular and be like, I wouldn't give a shit. It doesn't make a difference. Listen, we can go to every Marvel movie, right? Those first 10 movies all did post-conversion 3D, and it wouldn't make a difference. It didn't add to the cinematic experience of watching it in 3D. Right, you just went to the theater. If it was in 3D, you bought the extra $2 for the glasses, and off you went. But watching this movie, for me, it adds to the full completion of watching it in 3D. I'm very happy watching it, regular version 2D, if you will, or whatever. But if I have a choice between 3D and regular, I'll put on those glasses and sit in my basement and watch it in 3D. Just that's how I will forever watch this movie until my 3D television.
I agree with what Rob's saying. I'd say that
so Scott said he watched it for the first time. He enjoyed it. Jesse said he watched it for the first time. What up, Jesse? And he enjoyed it. Lewis just says it's great in general, and he doesn't have a 3D TV, so now he's got to go buy a 3D TV. Fraser said Rob knows his answer, so I think Fraser is on the exact same page.
Fraser and I think we may have got our TVs at the exact same. We had the same setup as him.
So Steve, my buddy, Sentaku Select, said he bought it on Blu-ray as it came out and he loved it, and he talks a little bit about Ghost in the Shell, which we'll leave for later. Gordon says it was awesome. And Lewis is saying 3D.
They could have easily messed up the 3D, right? Like, we had 3D who the way overdone, like things come at your face, and they could have easily done that too, but they didn't, and like Rob said, it was perfectly done.
Yeah, and I think that also shows. I mean, it really does show that people behind the camera really took they really wanted to make a good Dredd film, and I think that's what was great about this is that you could see the love from from the directors to the practical effects to the special effects to the visual effects. Everyone wanted to make a good Dredd film, and they wanted to sort of get rid of that the feeling of that 95 Stallone Dredd. Like they wanted to get away from it because they knew they had to really make them make it just a great action film that was so completely different from that 95's film, And I love the 95's film. I mean, I own it, watched it, loved it, saw it 4 times.
My understanding, Tim, is that you also on an eBay auction you purchased Stallone's cod piece from that 95.
No, I didn't. But I actually bought a 20-foot tall movie poster of the Dredd film.
Wait, but okay, but which one though? Is it the one where it's his full, and he's holding the gun out and you can see his face, or is it the one where his face looks really thin and the helmet is over his face?
It's still rolled up. I can't take it out because it's so damn big.
So it will displayed one day. Okay,
right,
so I think we're good on Dredd. I think we've said anything. Any last thoughts, anybody?
No,
Yeah.
love
So
it.
Rob was originally the one that suggested we rewatch this, so that was a lot of fun. And then next week we are going to be doing. What are we doing, Rob?
We're hitting the like and subscribe.
Yes, thank you.
We're hitting the like and subscribe. Are we? Is it Mortal Kombat? Is this what we're doing? The 95 Mortal Kombat?
I think the chat has spoken.
Sorry,
we're gonna do.
I'm mistaken. It's Remo Williams.
Scott, you're the only one that wants to watch Remo. Oh,
I
maybe
saw
Tim,
Remo
maybe
Williams.
Tim. Okay, so you guys can get together and do Remo Williams. I'll watch a trailer and see if maybe I can even entertain this idea. So I think we are all gonna be next week. We're gonna be standing up, listening to techno beats, yelling Mortal Kombat as loud as we can.
We're doing the Zemo dance. The Zemo fist pump dance
For an hour. All right.
So it's Mortal
Okay.
Kombat 95. Is it also 95?
I think I had 1995. Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Okay, yeah. So
1995.
that's more. Yeah. So we're not watching the second atrocity. We're watching.
We are not touching
Lambert.
Annihilation. We will touch on bonus, which is the Mortal Kombat Legacy series, which is available on YouTube. I've added, if you look at our YouTube page, the link for next week's show is up, and it does have the playlist from I think it's WB behind the scene, or it's some other YouTube channel that I guess WB set up where you can watch those shorts, and they're actually all pretty good. So I think Rob, you said you never watched them before, right?
Yeah, I never saw him. So
so it's Michael J. White, Jerry Ryan. All these a lot of like famous people, and the money they spent on it was actually pretty good. So they all look really good. So did you guys ever watch those, John or Tim?
Yeah, I did. They were amazing. I enjoyed them a lot, and then they disappeared on the internet for a while, I think. Right?
Yeah. It was under
back up.
Mishima. Yeah, it was under Mishima, that branding, and then when they took it down, now it's on. I forgot what it's linked in the other video. It's WB Backlot or something like that. But yeah, Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.
I'd have to
Tim.
rewatch them again. But yeah, I remember watching Mortal Kombat at least 3 times in the theater too, because I loved it at the time.
Was there somebody at the theater that you were like you had a crush on?
No.
Like in 1995, was it the ticket taker? That was
No,
just like, man.
I just love movies. I love watching.
I hear you,
films,
buddy.
and
I'm the same way.
And if I love a film, I'll watch it multiple times in the theater, man. I'll tell you how bad it is for me. For Tango and Cash, Kurt Russell, Stallone. I've seen that film over 80 times, and I could watch it right now. I could watch it right now, and it'd be still fun to watch. I love it.
Is it because Terry Hatcher is dancing on a pole? Is that why?
No.
Okay.
No, I just love that film. It's a great buddy cop film ever. Best one made.
I do find it kind of funny that Sarah, apparently, according to Gordon, he sold his true love out and said that she passed out during this movie, Dredd. So I found that to be really interesting. But she's very excited to watch Mortal Kombat.
Sarah is busting her ass all day, and then if you turn on these movies at night, she's probably going to fall asleep during whatever movie you put on, to be honest. So it's like you got to watch them.
Wait a minute. Are you coming to Sarah's defense? Like, what is happening here?
It's Terry Hatcher, random Terry Hatcher.
Gross. Whoa, what?
All right, so we're gonna do Mortal Kombat next week. So next week, same time, same channel. So Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think we're gonna have to call Sarah and Fraser because they've been demanding that they be on the guest spot on our Mortal Kombat podcast. I'll try and come up with some more clever ideas for that one. So
it can't be any worse than making us watch a trailer for Rick and Morty season 200.
That still is probably one of our funniest videos that we've uploaded. So Rob, you've got a brand new way to contact you. So you want to hit him with it's in the link in the description below. But Rob, hit him with where they can find you.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So you can get me on Instagram at _905. New YouTube channel will be rolling out by the end of the month, so you can catch me there. And John's going to be making some guest appearances as well. So.
Yes, I feel like we have to set up a whole other podcast and talk about maybe Terry Hatcher. I don't know what's going on.
No.
So John and Tim, I think I spoke to you guys the other day. I think we've kind of got a semi-exclusive on you guys right now.
Sure.
Unless you got some other projects you guys want to mention.
No.
I will probably have some action figure custom stuff going on, so I'll probably have an Instagram up down the line, and we'll start converting some stuff and getting some pictures up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll definitely link that up. Yeah. You can see a couple pictures on my Instagram of stuff that John's working on, some Warhammer and McFarlane figures. So that's pretty cool. So I think that's it. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for
like, subscribe, and bye-bye.
hit the like and subscribe. So subscribe. We'll
get to 1,000. We're road to 1,000.
Yeah. We're on the road to 1,000.
Thumbs up too. Hit the thumbs up.
Yeah. Thank you, sweetie. All right. So I think
Once we get to
that's it.
1,000, I think Sarah's going to go and watch every movie somebody suggests. So that'd be great. That's for our
Terry
1,000, right?
Terry Hatcher movies, yeah.
That's right.
No,
Yeah.
Watch out. I think she's going to spin kick you in the stomach.
If we get to 1,000, Sarah's going to watch every episode of Desperate Housewives. So there we go. I think we're good.
Oh,
I don't know if I would wish that on anybody. Anyway, sorry, Desperate Housewives fans. But anyways, on that note, I think we're going to start heading into after hours territory. Thank you again, guys, for doing this. Thank you to our guests. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you guys again next week. Thank you again.